Hello, everybody. I'm Nathaniel Theis with NCC Group, and we're a global cyber and software resilience business that operates across multiple sectors, geographies, and technologies. We've been engaged by the Linux Foundation to assess the security of the eBPF Verifier. This engagement is currently in progress. I'm a senior security consultant and part of our hardware and embedded systems team. I'm working with Chris Anley, our chief scientist, on this engagement. So eBPF is great because it's a lot safer than loading a custom kernel module. It's hard to get cases where you crash, say, hundreds of thousands of production systems with a single eBPF that has a bug in it. Um, and yet it's still almost as fast as native code because it's JIT compiled by the kernel down to assembly at runtime. eBPF should be safe to use from unprivileged contexts, although it isn't always allowed by policy. Um, so the kernel has to handle untrusted and potentially malicious eBPF programs, compile them down to assembly, and yet not insert a bunch of runtime safety checks that make everything slow. And to do this, the kernel statically verifies every time an eBPF program is loaded that it is safe. The verifier looks at every possible path through the program and makes sure that that path is safe on all possible inputs. If any path can't be proven to be safe, the program is rejected, and the kernel will refuse to load it. If that sounds like a complicated task, that's because it is. Verifier.c alone is more than 20,000 lines of code, which is comparable to the Project Gutenberg ebook of Moby Dick in text format. And the verifier bugs can have and have had a high security impact, container escape, LPE, local privilege escalation, and so on. So what does it mean to be safe, though, for an eBPF program? Well, for one thing, you can't just go around dereferencing, say, random pointers or so on. You need to make sure that they're valid. So you can't, essentially violate memory safety. But there's also other invariants that some of them are more documented than others. Just to give you an idea, there's a mechanism in BPF called referenced pointers, and a referenced pointer is one that has to be freed by the program before it exits, freed or released. This is statically checked by the verifier. If you don't free a referenced pointer, the kernel will refuse to load your program. The verifier is sound but not complete by design. It's okay if the verifier rejects some safe programs, but it's not okay to accept any unsafe programs. The verifier has to reject anything that's unsafe. It has to be sort of conservative in that sense. So look at prior work on the verifier. There's been previous security research. There's been more than 40 CVEs in the kernel that mention verifier.c. Again, just one file for the verifier. And of course, bugs aren't always assigned to CVE. And in fact, bugs aren't always disclosed to kernel maintainers at all. Sometimes they're exploited in the wild and nobody knows about them. But there's also been formal verification of some parts of the verifier. In particular, academic work that verified the range analysis component of it. So those parts have been proven correct in isolation as of the revision that was verified. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the verifier as a whole is correct or sound. There's also been work on dynamic testing and fuzzing of the verifier. So Google released Buzzer, which is their eBPF fuzzing framework. There's also state embedding verification, which is quite recent academic work from a few months ago that aims to add extra checks to bytecode programs generated during fuzzing to help to detect verifier bugs. NCC Group's approach here is manual source code review of the verifier and of some parts of the x86-64 JIT. We apply sort of our experience in exploit development and vulnerability research to this task to help us sort of analyze some of this quite complicated code. We're also doing a literature review of academic research and analysis of previous bugs that have been in the verifier. And another part of this is identifying and documenting some of those invariants the verifier has to prove. So not just memory safety, as mentioned. These results will be released later this year in our public report. So watch for that when it comes out. And that's all for this. Questions and answers will be in Slack. I will be hanging out there. And thank you very much for your time.